Hey, it's Cecil, and it's Saturday, and it is October, which means that I am going to be doing some builds with the occult packs. I honestly love the occult game packs. I think that they are so much fun, and I think that they're some of the best, like, the most thorough game packs. You know what I mean? That's obviously opinion based, but it's how I feel about it. It seems like they really put their all. I think it's because they're so like focused on the one thing in them. And like I know that it's not super popular that it's like one occult in a pack when like in The Sims 3 you've got the entire supernatural pack with all of the occults, but I don't know. I still prefer the way that they were done in The Sims 4 because there feels like there's more depth. I don't know. But we are building a vampire lair in The Sims today, and I went through and I looked at inspiration for sort of Victorian style builds, and I think it turned out okay. I don't know. I was a little out of my depths with this house. I was kind of like, wait, what do I want this to look like? But I think all in all, it came together in the end, and that's what matters. I was struggling a little bit with the roof because I was like, I'm gonna do these diagonal bits, and diagonal bits never go over well when you're roofing. I was like, oh, I can do the hipped roof thing with the no, you cannot. Maybe you can. I cannot. um, but yeah, so we've got this like wraparound porch and the two stories, the dormer. It's it's a fun little build. I like how it turned out. The idea at first was going to be like, oh, this vampire lives in a historical home, and you know that was like I was like, oh, I'll put a bunch of like collectible stuff in there, and it'll be like But then as I was like laying out the floor plan and stuff, I was like, no, this is definitely an old home that could be considered historical, but instead of it being like a live-in museum type thing, I was like, no, this vampire has just lived here for like 200 years. And recently, a somebody moved in to like help with rent because inflation is crazy. And so they were like, ah, damn, I gotta post a listing for a roommate. Seriously? After 2 centuries? Because they are a collector of the finer things in life a little bit. So they they don't really have a source of income. They're not one of those vampires who, did financial planning. Which is disappointing. Listen, if you've been alive for over 100 years and you haven't been able to save up some money, that really speaks volumes about what capitalism is doing to you, you know? But anyways, so the idea is that a human also lives here and has no idea that their roommate is a vampire. And so I was like, okay, so we're going to do some of it that's like kind of normal, and we're going to do some of it that's definitely vampire-y. And we'll find a balance there. We'll find a balance in the middle of all of that. And that is what we did. And then the longer that I was building, the more this like story started to come out in my head where like this human has no idea that they live with a vampire. They're just like, oh, my roommate's kind of weird. They're really into old stuff. I don't know. And meanwhile, this vampire is like kind of, you know how vampires are, where they're like, everybody I've ever known is dead. So they're just kind of sad all the time. You know vampire fictions. And so as I was putting down some of the like portraits from the vampire pack in like the living room, I was like, "Oh my gosh, what if one of these people was like the vampire's love and the others were like their friends and they were like a friend group back in the day, and then our vampire got turned into a vampire and just ended up outliving everyone." So then I put gravestones in the back, and at first it was like, oh, the headstones are creepy, but then it was like, no, the headstones are sad. This is personal. There's a reason for the graves to be on this lot, and it's because it was people that were actually known by the vampire. So I accidentally made myself a little emotional thinking about the vampire, and now we've got a house. So for that reason alone, I do like how the house turned out. You know, it's like there was some emotional depth put into this. Um, but anyways, before we get too far into the build, I do just want to take a moment to talk about the fact that EA might become a struck company if deals cannot be reached with SAG-AFTRA. EA has a possibility of becoming a struck company by SAG-AFTRA due to deals with voice actors, and I think that's really great. I think that voice actors deserve uh, unionization. I think that they deserve to have a bit of like stability and someone that takes care of them. And um anyways, if that does happen, if it does come to pass that SAG-AFTRA strikes EA, then all Sims related videos and streams will be on a pause from me. I considered, because with the whole with everything going on with the current strikes in Hollywood, there have been instances where you can say, "Hey, I'm a content creator. This is my main gig talking about movies or whatever." And um you could ask for an exception to be allowed to, continue doing your job and making an income. But I've decided, you know what? This channel itself is not monetized. My Twitch is, but I stream other games there, and I can stream other games there in the meantime, you know? Um, there's games that I play that are not from the Struck company because there's indie games and stuff like that. So I think that the channel will just go on pause until they sort it out, which I'm a little bit sad about the idea of that happening in the middle of Halloween builds, but at the same time, it is more important that voice actors are getting paid enough to eat. Because I know that a lot of times when people think of actors, they're thinking of like A-listers, right? I'm going to tell you right now, as somebody who's in the early stages of voice acting themselves, like, it's it is not actually a lucrative career for 99% of actors, whether that's on stage or voice acting, right? Like, especially voice actors, though, a lot of times you get paid once. You get paid while you're working. A lot of times you do not get paid like residuals the way that, and residuals, that's the thing that writers and actors were working on with the first round of strikes, and actors are still working on. It's one of the things where basically, like, every time you watch something on Netflix and give Netflix money, what they should do is pay the people who made that production possible something called residuals. That's the income that continually is generated by people rewatching the same shows over and over and over. You know, that kind of thing. And they were not. They were not getting paid proper residuals, and these companies were like, I'm not even going to tell you how many times this has been viewed. They know. They are perfectly capable of tracking that. They just were keeping that as private as possible so that they didn't have to pay anyone. Well, when it comes to video games, a lot of times, a voice actor will, voice a character, and you'll get paid either a flat rate or per hour. So you might get paid like $600 to work, or you might get paid like $50 an hour, and it's like 2 hours of work, you know? But then that's it. Not all the time, but often that's it. The video game is purchased. that goes to the company. It doesn't go to the actors. The there's like microtransactions. That money goes to the company. It doesn't go to the actors. Like Genshin Impact. When you play Genshin Impact and you like buy Blessing of the Welkin Moon, that doesn't go to voice actors. That goes to Hoyoverse. Um, you know? So I think I'm not entirely sure what the what the process is as far as SAG's deals that they're negotiating with EA and other gaming companies. But I do know that unions exist so that even if you're not getting paid residuals or commission or whatever, like if the media you are a part of does well, I think it's still important to make sure then that their like per work pay is a living wage, and unions help make sure that you actually get paid on time and like, that kind of stuff. Unions exist to protect workers, and that's a very important sort of thing. Um so if they decide to strike, I am in 100% solidarity with them, and I will not be streaming or filming The Sims for that duration. They've already approved, so they voted to approve the strike, but they are not yet picketing. There are still negotiations happening. What happens is you vote for a strike before a strike actually happens because it's a bargaining chip. It lets the companies that you're bargaining with know, hey, if something happens, I am not afraid to strike, to stop working altogether. And this is a particularly powerful bargaining chip right now because SAG-AFTRA means business. And it's very clear that they mean business because of everything that's going on with the strikes in Hollywood, Um, and that's good. That's a good thing for sure. Uh, and of course, as somebody who is a simmer, who is a content creator, who does a fair amount of Sims stuff, I definitely hope that it doesn't come to that. I also hope, for the sake of actors, that they get the deal that they need. But if it comes to that, then creation will be halted. um, yeah, there's my little pro union ramble for you. um, yeah, union strong. Anyways, as we are going further into this, I have played with vampires in this game before, but it's admittedly been a hot minute. I do not fully remember if they need the bathroom. Like, I think they do, maybe, but I do not recall. If anything, it just makes sense to like have bathrooms. Like, even if it's just decoration. And then, oh my gosh, the flooring. Going into the flooring, I decided that I wanted to kind of make like a diamond pattern with that diagonal wood from the vampire pack. And as I was doing it, I was like, why am I doing this? Why on earth would I possibly put myself through this process? And I still don't have an answer for you. I mean, it looks fancy schmancy and all of that, but like, was it worth rotating every individual tile? Hard to say. um, I'm really out here making decisions with the flooring that is driving me a little crazy. The the tile from this pack is really busy, but I wanted to use it. Same thing with the carpet. The carpet is really busy, but I wanted to use it. Same thing with the wallpaper even. It's really busy. I wanted to use it. I don't think it looks like super good necessarily, but at the same time, I like what it adds to the vibe. Also, this is not a super well lit build, and I am aware of that. Like, 100%. I I know it is It is lit by those little like things. Candlelight things? The candle chandeliers. Which, it's a vibe for sure. It's just not well lit. If you want it better lit, I recommend those little saucer lights because those things they'll light up the room. I put some planter boxes in the back, but I didn't like cheat any plants into them. I thought about it because I was thinking about making it look more lived in, but I don't know. As I was doing it, I was just like, I think maybe one either their love or one of the friends in their little group was the gardener. So the garden boxes are still there, but the garden is maybe dead or overgrown in some places and just not something that they really do anymore. Not something they take care of anymore. I think the only thing that they do is make sure that their plasma fruit trees are all good. I put a couple debug of the I went into the debug menu and I grabbed a couple plasma fruit trees. You listen, I do remember from playing with vampires that you do not need that many plasma fruits by any means. But it's still I still like it. And then oh yeah, so the packs that I used for this were number one, I used obviously vampires. I used base game, and then I used romantic garden stuff because I thought that romantic garden stuff would kind of fit the overall vibe, and I stand by that decision. I think it was a good choice. So we have a combination of like vampire stuff and some things from Romantic Garden. I didn't want it to look too bright, but at the same time, I didn't want it to look completely dead because there's some plants that will persevere no matter how much you neglect to take care of them. Um, but yeah, I put down a little path going to a wishing well in the back and then put a few more trees around. There's not a lot going on in the backyard because I was like, literally, why would there be? Like maybe playing in there and then with a human sim in there, the human is like, hey, let's start, And that's the other thing. I wanted it to be like, this human has just moved in. They have not added their personality to the house quite as much yet. It's still all kind of sad. I also did some like unevenness to the ground here and accidentally hit manage worlds. But I kind of like the way that it made everything like look. I don't know. I like the uneven. I like the way that it's like choppy and doesn't look quite right. And then because I cannot make a smooth path that looks good to save my life in this game, I decided to like kind of add some dirt around it to make it look like the path maybe was overgrown. But yeah. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the way that this build has turned out. I think it has the eerie vibe while also like kind of feeling like lived in, it's balanced. It's balanced and it has a story. And I love that. I love that there's a story. um but yeah, we are putting on the finishing touches and all of that. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and leave a comment below if there is a build you would like to see in the future, or if you have any ideas for what can be done with the houses of the other occult sims. You can follow me in the links in the description box below, including my Twitch, where I stream just about every day. And if you have not done so yet, subscribe. I will see you guys in the next one, unless there is a strike, and then I will see you when that is over. Bye.